Welcome back to the channel. Racer X here, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the Mustang platform. And a lot of people have asked me on Instagram and various questions over the internet like, hey, how can I make my naturally aspirated Mustang GT into a 10-second car? Not the easiest thing in the world to do.
This is your car.
My car? I said a 10-second car, not a 10-minute car.
But we know that it can be done. So today I'm going to tell you kind of my formula for making your Mustang GT, your automatic, your 10R80, 10-speed Mustang GT into a 10-second monster, keeping it naturally aspirated. So hopefully you guys find some value in that. If you're new to my channel, please do me a huge favor. Please hit subscribe. You can find that button down there in the corner. Only 21% of you guys are actually subscribed. Also, please hit the notification bell for more of my great content. And off we go.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Now, I realize some of you may say, well, Racer X, your car is boosted. Yes, this is, in fact, a Hellion twin-turbo Mustang. And yes, there are other folks out there that have, Whipple superchargers or Pro Chargers or whatever else, all boosted applications. And those are fantastic. But the truth is that most Mustangs out there, the vast majority, are not boosted. They're naturally aspirated. And you can do naturally aspirated applications, keep them very reliable, kind of do them in stages, and get them to where they will actually run 10s for you at the track. These Coyotes are actually amazing what they will do. So this is really for the folks out there that want to have a really fast car that's really reliable, that they can either daily it, that doesn't break the bank, at least not initially. Like I said, you can kind of do this in stages until you make it fast enough to run 10. So I'm going to break this down a couple of different ways. There's actually 3 different categories we're going to talk about today. One of them is power mods. The other is kind of enhancing mods, if you will. And then the last one will be mods to lighten the car a little bit to get it to go faster. So all 3 of those things combined, you should have a 10-second naturally aspirated Mustang. So let's jump into it.
Hey, pop the hood.
Pop the hood?
Pop the hood.
So the next 2 mods are actually critically important to making power on this particular platform, and that's going to be your E85 tune. For some reason, the Mustang really responds well to an E85 tune, whether it's boosted or naturally aspirated, and the long tubes. Yes, this is where you're going to pick up the bulk of power on a naturally aspirated application, especially with a stock Coyote engine. So, there are a couple of different long tubes that I actually really like. I like the Cooks. I like the Stainless Works. There are a couple other really good ones out there, but a good set of stainless steel long tubes, maybe with some ceramic coating on them to keep the heat down a little bit, and a really solid E85 tune that will actually help with some of your other supporting mods there as well, really help this car to come alive. And a lot of people will say, listen, what kind of cat should I get? You can keep basically stock cats on there, or you can go with high flow cats, which I highly recommend, and that seems to work really well and will keep you carb compliant. And now on your exhaust, there are a lot of different ways to go. You can go cat back, you can go axle back. I do recommend a really good cat back system. Obviously, I'm running the MagnaFlow X mod, which I absolutely love. Sorry guys, my car's just a little bit dirty, but of course Corsa makes good ones, Borla makes good ones. It just really depends on what sound. It's really subjective. Don't expect to pick up a lot of power by going to a cat back exhaust, but it is a really solid mod for sound and sometimes the look of it as well. So just keep that in mind. I still don't necessarily not recommend going with the cat back, but you just don't expect a lot of power out of those. Regardless of what the manufacturers say, you're not going to pick up a whole lot with it, but it's cumulative. On a naturally aspirated build like this, it's kind of a cumulative effect that gets you to the high 10s. Now, one other question I do get a lot is, look, what kind of horsepower numbers should I be targeting in order to get my naturally aspirated Mustang into the 10s? And, the answer to this is a little bit cryptic because you've got different dynos out there. Is it on a Mustang dyno? Is it on a dyno jet? Load-based, hub-based? I mean, there's a million different things. So my generic answer to this is between like 480 and 500 horsepower to the tire, and that is on a dyno jet, and that is SAE corrected, not STD, not the standard numbers, which tend to read a little bit higher. But if you can get to that power level, I know you can get into the 10s with some other supporting mods. So that is my kind of generic answer on it. Like I said, lots of different dynos. Dynos are different. We've seen base Mustang GTs typically in the 410 to 415 range. Some of them read lower, depends on the dyno. So just keep all of that stuff in mind. It's all about how much gain you get. Really, that's where the measuring stick should be. Now, once you've got the power mods down, the next thing you're probably going to want to do is figure out how to enhance the power that the car is making. And there are several ways to do that. Really, these are things that are really going to help you out at the drag strip, kind of lower that ET. And really the first one I want to bring to your attention is just glaring with the Mustang. And the Mustang just doesn't 60 foot. The converter on this, it is very tight. You need a looser converter to get you out of the hole. So, you know, there are companies like Circle D. There are a couple other ones out there that make really good converters for this car. I mean, even my car with a twin turbo setup, it leaves under no boost. I've got no two-step or anything like that. And it like 1/8 in the 60 foot. It's just deplorable. And if this thing could get out a lot faster, it would definitely make a difference. And with a converter, it actually does that. So there are a couple different types of converters out there, but like a 3600 stall actually works really well on these cars. And so I highly recommend one mod. You can pick up like at least 3/10, even naturally aspirated. And when you're trying to get down into the 10s, that is a huge deal. And the other piece of it, as I just mentioned, if you can activate the factory two-step on this, that will also get you out of the hole much faster. It allows the car to make more RPM. And of course, that will get you down the track moving that much quicker. So a lot of times you can do the stall and activate your two-step, and then you're looking at really nice 60 foots out of this car. And boy, it makes for a huge difference on your ET at the track. Now, the next thing I want to talk about also makes a big difference when it comes to getting this car out of the hole, and that is going to be the gearing. And a base Mustang GT like this one came with 315 gears in it. It's not really the ideal gear set to get you out of the hole, like on performance pack cars, and I know it's an option on the non-performance pack cars as well. You could put 355s in, and that does make a nice difference for you. Some people actually go to like a 409 gear to help get this car out of the hole as well. As I mentioned, it is a smaller displacement, a 5-liter when you're talking about, you know, the LT cars that are 6.2s and the Hemis being 6.4s. You're already kind of at a torque deficit there. So yeah, if you can kind of get the car out of the hole, as I mentioned, you've got the stall converter you can put in, you've got the two-step you can put in, and then enhance that with some steeper gearing. That certainly makes a huge difference. So if you're not going to go with a 355, you could go to the 409 gear, but just the gearing on these cars makes a huge difference in your ET. The next mod I do want to talk about just briefly, and this isn't anything that's going to make your car really any faster, but it will certainly make it more reliable, and that is the axles. This car has G-Force axles. Actually, they're Ford Racing, made by G-Force, but you know, this car does make big power. But even under stock power, these cars tend to break axles at the track. The axles are kind of a weak point in the drivetrain on a Mustang, and we know that 10R80 shifts pretty hard, especially between 1 and 2, and even 2-3. The way this thing shifts, it's pretty darn hard, especially in drag mode. And like I said, if you don't want to pop an axle and have your car towed home, a lot of times it's a good idea, if you're running at the track a lot, to go ahead and throw some axles in it. Lots of companies make axles for these, but it's definitely something to do. Now, there are a couple other mods that I want to mention in terms of lightening the car that also could help you kind of break into the 10s. These are pretty simple and really work with pretty much any drag racing application or anytime you're going to the track. And one of them is simply pull the seats out. I mean, you're looking at a good solid 10th in the quarter mile just by pulling the seats out, which you can always put right back in the car later. And that does tend to get a lot of people over the top. The other thing is on your wheels. You can see I do have the Weld Racing wheels on my car here. Those are front runners, which are much lighter and present less rolling resistance than a traditional street tire. And of course, I don't have my big tires on the back, but the big tires not only are lighter, I've got 305 ET Street Rs, which work fantastic even at this power level, but a good drag pack that's fairly light will reduce rolling resistance, make the car bite every darn time, so you don't have to worry so much about traction. And by just doing really those two things, it's going to really help to kind of get you over the top. Some people like to go with carbon fiber hoods, carbon fiber door panels, all that kind of stuff. That's not necessary, really. It does help. Anything you can do to help lighten the car, a lightweight race battery, there are lots of different ways to do it. But if you just do those two things, go with a light set of wheels like on a drag pack and simply take the seats out, you're going to be making a huge difference at the track. So definitely two mods I would highly recommend.
So now you owe me a 10-second car.
Is that right?
So there you have it. That's my recommendation. If you want to put your naturally aspirated Mustang into the 10s, it's easily doable. This is a proven recipe for putting these cars into the 10s. Certainly, the better the air quality is outside, or the lower the DA, the better the chance is that you're actually going to get into the 10s. But definitely, if you follow this blueprint, it seems to work really well. You got the power mods there. You can lighten the car a little bit and then do all of the enhancing mods that will help you at the track. And hopefully, this will help you guys achieve a much better result at the track, maybe win you some more races and just have more fun. You can do these things in stages, which is another thing I really love about this. So hopefully this helps you guys to at least get a little bit of good information on what to do with this car if you want to make it faster. Let me know what you think about all these things in the comments down below, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. So until then, Racer X.